So we have constructed three different moving average measures for monthly frequency, for quarterly frequency, and for the daily frequency, respectively. Okay. So, well, of course, using all the three, we can just have three different graphs showing the price data and also the moving average data at different frequencies. However, sometimes you want to make your report more concise. All right. So, for example, in this report, I have just one graph showing the price and the moving average. And I utilize a slicer that can change which frequency I want to show. Okay, so currently I'm choosing the monthly frequency. So that means in this graph, I have the monthly closing price and also the monthly moving average. If I choose, say, daily, then this graph changes to the daily price change and the corresponding moving average at the daily frequency. I can also choose quarterly, and then we have like trading price at the end of each quarter together with the moving average at the quarterly frequency. All right, so that this graph looks kind of neater, right? You don't need to have three different graphs. You can just use this slicer to switch between different frequencies. So how to kind of implement this idea and construct a report like this? Okay, that's what we're going to discuss. So to construct something like this, which can show different data frequencies, we basically need two different data tables. Okay, so to show a daily frequency graph, we need basically all the rows from this historical daily table. Okay, historical daily table is basically the daily the trading days at the daily frequency. Okay, and we also need a table which only contains trading days at the end of each month. Okay, so we'll call this monthly table. Okay, and lastly, we also need a table that only contains trading days at the end of each quarter. So I'll call this quarterly table. So we're going to have a big table that combines all the three data tables: the daily table, the monthly table, and the quarterly table. And we'll use a marker to indicate which subset is the daily table, which subset is the monthly table, and which subset is the quarterly table. Then using this marker, we can construct this slicer. Okay, so this slicer is going to be linked to the marker. So when we choose different frequencies, we're basically telling Power BI to choose that marker accordingly. And once that marker is chosen, then we're going to be working on the data table that's related to that particular marker. For example, if I choose the quarterly marker, then Power BI is only going to take that quarterly table to work on those trading days at the end of each quarter. Okay, if we choose the monthly marker, then Power BI is going to take those take that data table related to the trading days at the end of each month. Okay, so this is a way we can use the slicer to control the view. Okay, but of course the first step is we need to construct a combined data table that have both the daily table, monthly table, and quarterly table embedded there. Okay, so to have a big table that contains the daily table, the monthly table, and the quarterly table together, we need to define this new table. Okay, so to do that, we need to go to the modeling tab and click on this new table button. And here we can just, I'll paste my DAX code that define this new table. Okay, this new table is going to be called FreqFilter, standing for filter for frequencies. Okay, we can basically use this filter to choose different frequencies we want. So I'll call it FreqFilter. Okay, so I'll explain this DAX code in more details. So basically, this line is trying to construct that daily table, which contains all the trading days we have, okay, in the historical daily table. Okay, then this row this line is gonna take the last trading day of each month from historical daily table and use those last trading days of each month to construct this monthly table. And this third line is basically taking the last trading day of a quarter from the historical daily data table and put all those last trading days of a quarter in a new table. We call it quarterly table. Okay, so when we have all the three lines exercised, we'll have the daily table, the monthly table, and the quarterly table, okay, separately. The last step, we're going to use this union function to put all the three tables together. Okay, we join all the three tables together, use this union function. Okay, so we'll have the daily table and the monthly table and quarterly table all put in one table, and this table is going to be called the FreqFilter. So this first line of code uses a select columns function. Okay, this function basically works on a particular data table and select several columns from that table and give it a new name. All right, so in this first line, we're working on this historical daily table. Again, this is a table which contains daily trading information. Okay, so we're going to select some columns from this historical daily table. The first column we're going to choose is this date column from this historical daily table. Okay, and we're going to name this new column just date. Okay, so this second argument is basically the name we give to this column, and the content of this column is basically the same as the date column in the historical daily table. Okay, and then we choose another column. The second column we're going to construct is we'll give it a name called frequency. Okay, and the content of this column is this text string called daily. So the entire second column is going to take the same value, which is a text string daily. All right, and this second column has a name called frequency. All right, so to have a concrete idea about how this first line of code define this daily table, okay, let's take a look at the table view. And we choose, okay, here we already choose this FreqFilter table. So this is structure of the table, okay, and we'll have here we have all the trading days. Okay, every trading days here starting from January 3rd, 2023. We have this daily frequency table here. This is the first column showing us the daily frequency. Okay, well, trading days at the daily frequency. Okay, and the second column, we name it frequency, right? The second column is named frequency. And the content of this column is just a simple text string, daily. All right, so for all those trading days at the daily frequency, they will be shown in the first column. And in the second column, you just have this marker called daily, which indicate that each row here is basically a trading day at the daily frequency. Okay. So this second line of code, we're still using this select columns function, and this first argument for this function is gonna tell Power BI which data set the select column function is gonna work on. So here we're using a filter function on this historical daily table. So we are taking a subset from the historical daily table, okay? And this subset are those rows where the column UM1 equals 1, okay? Recall, we have constructed this UM1 column before. So basically, for those rows in which the trading day is the last trading day of a month, this column UM1 will be equal to 1. So this filter function is basically taking a subset from this historical daily table, and this subset are basically the trading days at end of each month. Okay, so this is gonna be the table the select column function is going to work on. So select column function now is working on a table that contains the last trading days of each month. Okay, and then the select column function is going to select a few columns from this table, and the first column is going to select is again this data column, date column. Okay, and this column is going to be named as date. Okay, the second column, the select column function is going to take is going to be named frequency, and the content of this column is a simple text string, monthly. All right, to have an idea about what this second line of code result, we can check the data table. Okay, so let's move down a little bit. You will see. Okay, here we go. So now basically the second line of code is gonna introduce this monthly table. Okay, monthly table is the table where we only have trading days at end of each month. Okay, so the first column you can see here, starting from this row, we have the last trading day of January 2023. This is the last trading day of February 2023. Okay, last trading day of March 2023. So basically each row here is the last trading day of a month. Okay, and correspondingly the second column, the frequency column, will have this marker, monthly marker. Okay, that's just a text string that indicates those rows here are basically at a monthly frequency. Each row records the last trading day of a month. So now let's take a look at this third line. We are still using the select columns function, and the first argument is gonna tell Power BI which data sets this select columns function is gonna work on. So this data set is again a subset of historical daily table. Okay, we're not taking all the rows, we're only taking the rows where this column called EOQ1 equals 1. And again, this is a kind of a marker or indicator that this row is representing the last trading day of a quarter. Okay, so basically we're only taking out those rows in which the trading day is the last trading day of the quarter. Okay, so this is what we call the quarterly table. Okay, so the select columns function is gonna work on this quarterly table, which contains the last trading days for each quarter. Okay, and from this table, select columns function is gonna select the first column, okay, which is the date column, and give it a name date. And the second column, this select column function is gonna construct will be this frequency column. We'll give a name called frequency. Okay, this new column is called frequency. And the content of this second column is basically a text string, simply quarterly. All right. So what does this third column achieves? Let's go to the bottom here. Okay, here this rows are basically the quarterly table constructed by this third line of code. Okay, so we have in the first column we have again the dates, the trading days at the end of each quarter. Okay, you can see this is the March 31st, 2023. That's last trading day in the first quarter of 2023. This is the last trading day of the second quarter 2023, and we have the last trading day at the third quarter of 2023. Okay, so each row here, the first column, each row is basically the last trading day of a quarter. The second column again just contains this text marker, quarterly. Okay, this indicates that all those rows here are related to this quarterly table. Okay, those rows just provide you the trading days, the last trading days at the end of each quarter. Okay, so altogether, these three rows basically first introduce the daily table, the monthly table, and the quarterly table into this big table. Okay, then we use this union function to just stack these three tables together. We'll have the daily table at the top, followed by the monthly table, then followed by the quarterly table. Okay, As you can see from the structure of this table, at the bottom we have this quarterly table, which contains several rows, each row being the last trading day of a quarter. Then above this quarterly table, we have this monthly table, which presents the last trading day of each month. Okay, and above the monthly table, we have the daily table, which contains all the trading days. Okay, on a daily frequency. So that's gonna be the entire table. We call it FreqFilter, which combines both the daily, the monthly, and the quarterly table together.